So, good afternoon. I'm interviewing Chip Muchin. My name is Joe Reingold, and today is Monday, March 22nd. Spring is in the air. We're very happy to have you here. Thanks, Chip, for doing this.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
Let's start with, tell us a little bit about your background, your grandparents, your parents, etc., where your family was from, where they lived, where they were born, and where they grew up.
Sure. My grandpa on my dad's side, the Muchin side, grew up in Belarus under the Tsar in those days. And of course, the Tsar with pogroms and all the problems, very mean to the Jewish people. But lo and behold, around 1904, my grandpa found himself on the train going to the Pacific to fight in the Tsar's army in the Russo-Japanese War. And if you know the history of that war went very badly for Russia. A lot of casualties, they got routed. So the story is a lot of the Jewish guys on the train, the last thing they want to do is fight for the Tsar. So gradually they all started deserting by jumping the train, which took courage because could have been shot for desertion. And my grandpa looked around, he was about the only Jewish guy left, so he got up the courage to jump off. And somehow from there he made it to Ellis Island in New York. And I guess in those days, if you had $25 or were healthy, you could get in. So apparently he had that because he got in. So started out working a little bit in New York at a cigar factory of all places. And after a few shifts of that, he said, "This is not for me. I didn't come to America to do this." So he had remembered that his family in the old country, as he called it, in Russia, told him that if he could get to a place called Sheboygan, Wisconsin, they had some relatives there, wherever that was, right? And it's actually a little bit north of Milwaukee, Long Lake, Michigan. But anyway, he got there and they told him what you should do is to make a decent living or reasonable living is peddle scrap metal. But they said to do that, you need to go to the next town north. You'll have more opportunity in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. So he went there, and then that's how it started.
Okay. What about the rest of your grandparents?
Well, I guess I'll finish my grandpa. He met my grandma there. She was from the Ukraine. They got married. They had 7 boys, and my dad was the youngest son. And then on my mom's side, I really never knew my grandfather because he died before I was born, but got to know my grandma. She lived in Milwaukee, and she was a person who told it like it is. She was feisty, so I always enjoyed talking with her. And
where was she from originally, Chip? Do you know?
Well, she was from Ohio originally. Her side of the family did originally come from Russia too. So.
Okay. Yeah. Did the two sides of the family know each other? I mean, I know it's not right next door in Wisconsin, but did they ever cross paths?
Well, after my parents got married, they got along very well. It was good. Is that what you mean? Or
yeah, well, that's fine. No, I was just curious if they had known each other, but yeah.
Yeah, no, not before then, no.
Okay. And what did your mom's side of the family do for a living?
Well, my grandpa never got to meet. It had a restaurant, but then the Depression came, and like everybody got wiped out with that. So after that, he did what he could just to get by. So.
Did your grandmother ever remarry?
No, she didn't. But fortunately, she and her family, she had a whole bunch of sisters, several of my aunts. They were fortunate because their older brother, Louis, was very successful in real estate in Ohio. He had rental properties all over the place. So, I think after the Depression, many of them were widowed or weren't really making a living. So fortunately, Uncle Louis really saved the day there and kept them all going. So, and he was a single bachelor, so I guess he was able to do it. So he helped carry the day for him. So.
Very good. Yeah, a lot of Jewish people came over and were sponsored. Like that's how your family ended up in Wisconsin. They were sponsored by a relative or someone and spread out. Everybody thinks everyone ended up on the East Coast, but it's not so.
No, it really isn't true at all. No.
So tell us a little bit about your own childhood. Where did you grow up? Where did you live as a child? What did you like to do for amusement when you were young?
Well, I was named after my grandpa. I talked about came from from Belarus. His name was Alfred, so I was named after him. And so we started out in Manitowoc. I lived there till I was at 12 years old. And my dad had taken to the business after my grandpa died, even though he was the youngest son. His older brothers weren't so sure he'd be skilled at running the scrap business, but he was. Then he wanted to expand the business into Milwaukee. So at age 12, we moved to Milwaukee. I was actually bar mitzvahed in Milwaukee. So that's kind of how it started, and we went from there. So.
What did you do in elementary school and junior high for fun? What kind of activities were you involved in?
I was on the junior high basketball team. Started out as second string guard, but then the first string guard transferred to another school, so I just kind of moved up the ladder there by default. So that was kind of fun. I have good memories of that. Had pretty good luck with my shooting in those days, so that was good. And then high school, I got involved in AZA quite a bit. I was involved with the BBYO chapter, and then later, my senior year, I became athletic director of the city council, which I very much enjoyed because I played a lot of basketball in AZA too. So it was a good experience.
What was the Jewish community like when you were growing up in Milwaukee?
Very closely knit. Some would say too close. You know, it's like everybody knew what everybody else was doing. For my part, it was just a little too much, you know. But still, it was a good community, closely knit, several synagogues from all denominations. So overall, it was very good. Yeah.
What was your family and your parents involved in, both Jewishly and civically, when you were growing up there?
Well, we were involved in the synagogue. We belonged to a conservative synagogue, so we got involved with that. But my dad, he was really all business. I don't think he took charities as seriously. He'd do some work in them, but it really wasn't his cup of tea. You know.
And your mom?
My mom, yeah, she'd get involved in Hadassah and other charities, but she never really became an officer or anything. Just would stay involved as a member. So.
Okay. Did you do any school activities? I know you did BBYO and Hebrew school, obviously.
Right.
Did you? Sure. Were you in any committees or anything in your actual high school? Well, you said you were athletic director, but that was for the city, right?
Yeah, that's right. Through B'nai B'rith, you know, BYO. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty much. I was on the golf team one year and. Did cross country one year, but so I did some things in high school, but I was more involved in BBYO at that point.
Okay, very good. So what did you do immediately following high school? Where did that take you?
Sure, I went to UW-Madison, which is really just like UT in Austin, state capital, state school, large campus. Went there for actually 4.5 years in the business school. But I took a lot of history courses as electives because I really liked history. And honestly, the history classes, I think, got my GPA up more, probably inflated it somewhat because I was very good at the history classes. At that time, I didn't sense it was really a practical career being in history. Although later on, which I'll explain, it did become practical.
So. Okay. So how and when did you decide on your field of study, what you would actually do?
Well, I always had an interest in business, finance, going that route. So I majored in finance with the idea of maybe going in business. Just have to see what happens with my family, if I wanted to pursue that or not, and if there was opportunity in it. So that's kind of what I had in the back of my mind. I wasn't completely sure where it would lead me. So.
Yeah. Did you ever have any feelings that you would succeed your father and go into, did you ever plan to go into the family business?
Well, my dad was a person of good foresight. He had the ability to see ahead 5-10 years. And about the time I graduated, he said, now would really be a good time strategically sell the business to a competitor. He said, if we wait 5-10 years, it's probably not going to be as strong a position to sell it. So it really might not be worth it to keep it that long. So it was at a point for various competitive reasons. It was just a good idea to sell it. And so we sold the business, leased the land and to the buyer. And so it really worked out good for both sides for a long period of time.
So what were your aspirations And what did you do right after college, soon after college?
Well, my dad, he was kind of an entrepreneur. As a sideline, he had this coin and stamp collectibles business. He said, now that I've sold the scrap business, why don't you come into the collectibles business with me and we'll see where it leads. So I did that. And then along the way, we got into historical autographs and documents, which at that time was kind of in its infancy. It was kind of a new field, really only a handful of dealers in it at that time. But of course, nowadays with eBay, everybody claims to be a dealer, you know. So that's the way, that's so the field really grew. And by 1988, we had a good relationship with this autograph dealer in Dallas who was really one of the pioneer dealers in historical autographs. And we started buying some of his collection. He had a huge inventory. And we said, well, why don't you just sell us the whole business? You're getting older, maybe you want to retire. And he said, well, I don't know what I'd do if I'd sell it. But sadly, shortly after that, I believe he had cancer, he died, and his wife didn't know what to do with the collection. So she said, I'll sell it to you, but I want you to move down here because it's just a massive quantity to ship it to you. It's not something I want to do and all this. And honestly, by then, I'd kind of peaked out in Milwaukee, really wasn't going anywhere, really wasn't happy there anymore. So it seemed like a good idea to move on. And right before I moved, I met Julie, who lived in Milwaukee, of all things. And we went out for a few months. We were matched up by mutual friends. And after we went out a few months, I said to her, oh, by the way, I think I'm moving to Dallas soon. She said,
Let's either come with me or goodbye. Was that it?
Well, she said if we want to, she was a diplomat. She said if we want to work it out, we will. So we left it then, and obviously we did work it out. So. And then shortly after we got married, the following August, she moved here to Dallas.
So you got married in Milwaukee. You were still there?
Milwaukee, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. Very good. So you both moved to Dallas. Did you come here sight unseen, or had you been here before?
Well, no, I had been here many times. The funny thing was, before I even told her I was moving to Dallas, a cousin of hers was marrying a girl here from Dallas, the Black family, Steve Black. I don't know if you remember him. He sadly passed away a long time ago. But anyway, my cousin Scott was marrying this girl from Dallas, and so Julie was going to come to the wedding. And I was pitching her, oh, you'll really like Dallas. It's a great place to be. I hadn't told her yet I was thinking about moving here. But anyway, she came down. The wedding was at the Adelphus Hotel downtown, and they had a good time. And so then later on, of course, I told her, how'd you like Dallas? You know.
That was sneaky. That was good of you. Very good.
Yeah, right.
So how exactly did things unfold to come here, to be here, and to get settled in with that new job? And then what did you do from there?
Well, fortunately, the business that we bought worked out really well. We started out, in those days in the late 80s, didn't have the technology you do today. So at that time, we rented an office in Preston Center and really came here right at the bottom of the economy. Recall we had the crash here in the late 80s, mid 80s to late 80s. I'm sure it wasn't easy for families here. And so at that time, you could get office space for a song compared to what it was later. So we were in this high rise in Preston Center, Douglas Avenue, and they did everything to get us in there, build out, everything. So we were very happy with it. It was ideal for this type of business, a perfect location with storage closet, everything. So that worked out.
And what did Julie do when she came down here?
She's a teacher in Milwaukee. She was in the public schools and kindergarten. And here she had an opportunity to work at the J in their school, and she liked that. It was related to kindergarten. So I said, well, if that's what you like, then go with that. And she also wanted to meet people in the Jewish community, being new to the area. So that was the advantage of working there as well. Mm-hmm. So she did that. And she actually started out the North Branch. I don't know if you remember the North Branch school in Plano.
Right.
Yeah, you know the story. Unfortunately, it's hard to have two J's in one community. So then after that, she worked at the North Haven branch. She's still there. So.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah. So how did your business grow? And then how did you change courses at some point?
Well, the business grew quite a bit. We had a good run in it for about 8 years. But after that, I just kind of had various reasons I wanted to make a change. So I spent 5 years working for a home warranty company as a rep for the Dallas area. So that was good until they sold the business. The original owners sold the business, and that all changed because a private equity company took it over. So they withdrew from Texas. So my position sadly was eliminated. I liked the job, but it was time to move on. But we still had the business, collectible business as a sideline. Still had a lot of inventory, so I ramped that up again. And then later I got into working for H&R Block, and I'm still there during tax season, as you know. I've been there 12 years already. So I've kind of had two jobs along the way here the last 12 years.
Okay. And you're still there. That's good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's
Where
kind of
did you and
rushed,
Julie,
know.
where did you
Yeah.
buy a home, or where were you guys living at the time? And do you have any children?
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
we have a daughter, Ashley. We adopted her through Jewish Family Service. At that time, they offered that service. They don't anymore. So that's how we had Ashley.
Mhm.
And as far as our house, we bought a home here in 1991, the Preston Campbell area. So, and of course, at that time, fortunately, housing prices were very cheap, especially compared to now. So we were happy with the purchase, and we wanted to be in the Richardson School District. That was really the attraction of it.
Mhm. That's a
Her
good,
daughter
that's
went,
where, yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
one.
yeah, exactly. So I went to
Yeah.
Brentfield, which is not far from our house,
Mhm.
Brentfield Elementary, and then Park Hill across the street, and then Pierce High School. So
Right.
that worked out well. We were very happy with the school district.
What have you and Julie been involved in since you've been here in Dallas? Both, again, either Jewishly and or civically.
Yeah, I got involved in again with B'nai B'rith. I got involved in a lodge here, B'nai B'rith Lodge here, the Jonathan Netanyahu Lodge, and that's how I met Stuart originally. Excuse me. Yeah, he got quite involved in it too, along with several other people. And I was in organizations. You start out and was kind of holding different offices, and current president's kind of begging me. He says I got to move on to the district. The Neighborhood District, Southeastern District. So please take the job of president. That's how it is here. So I took it for a couple of years, and it was a good experience. We had a lot of good programming, a lot of sports speakers, other speakers. So we were very happy with it. It was a good experience, but like a lot of things, eventually it peaked out and ended up folding the chapter. So, but not after many years.
Did you join a synagogue here?
Yeah, we originally started out at Shereth Israel because before we bought the house, we lived in an apartment by Walnut Hill and Central. So we joined Shereth originally, and that was fine. But then we moved up north, really with Rabbi Weinberg, so to speak, as he left Shereth, moved up to Anshe, or what's called Anshe now. And so we switched, synagogue closer to our house.
Right. Very good. What do you think of the Hebrew school there? Was it a good program? Did your daughter go there?
She did. She actually went all the way through high school, taking Hebrew school classes. So she liked it. Yeah, it worked out well for her.
Okay. Well, you've been here a while, both you and Julie. You've lived here a while. So tell us, what were your impressions like of Dallas when you first got here, and how has the city changed since you've been here?
I have to tell you, Joe, moving to Dallas was one of the smartest decisions I ever made in my life. Quality of life is great here. You have no idea how it is up north, living up there. It's a harder life, So anyway, here in Dallas, cosmopolitan city, good quality of life, low taxes. You can't beat it. So we've been very happy here, and a great Jewish community. So,
what changes have you seen through the years that you can pinpoint?
Well, I mean, the city has grown. They keep building new housing farther north, and the roads follow it with it. So it's clearly a city it's been growing ever since I've got here. I'm sure the population has at least doubled since we moved here.
That's true. Did you find, think back for a minute, did you really find that the Dallas Jewish community was welcoming to you guys when you first got here?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we had a warm response at Cherith. They were happy to see us, and Julie got involved, with the JCC, and got to know a lot of people. And we used to be involved in the Chavurah program at the synagogue at Cherith. So yeah, we found people warm and welcoming. It's the culture. You feel better here. The climate's better. I don't know if you ever saw that movie with Walter Matthau, Grumpy Old Men, where they live in Minnesota in the winter. There's something to it. You just don't feel as good. It's a satire, but there was a lot of truth to it.
I was in Milwaukee in the winter. I know what you mean.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to have a good reason to stay there. That's for sure.
Right. Is there anything you can think of that the Jewish community should do nowadays to make people feel welcome when they come here? Anything we're not doing that should be done?
Not that I know of. I think a lot of it is on the individual who moves here to take the initiative. And then once they do, it's important to be warm and welcoming and get them involved in the Jewish community as much as possible. But they have to want to do it is really the first step.
Right, that's true. Okay. Who do you think in your lifetime would you consider a role model for you?
I would say two people come to mind. I know Anwar Sadat was a little bit on the other side of the Arab-Israeli conflict, but he was a person of great foresight, great courage, and a man who really wanted peace. And he risked his own life to advance that cause, and sadly, he was shot for it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, historically, the great Winston Churchill proved that one man can make a difference. He really single-handedly saved the world, in my view, with FDR. So,
wow, wonderful.
Those were two great persons.
Mm-hmm. And leave it to you to think of people in history, historian, really.
Yeah, I love history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's great. On a more personal note, what are you really, really proud of? Either a work project or something that you've done in your lifetime?
Well, again, I go back to moving to Dallas. Really one of the sharpest decisions I've ever made. It's been a great ride here. And, like I say, in Milwaukee, I'd kind of peaked out. I don't know where I'd be if I'd still be living there, honestly. But it wouldn't have had as good a life, really. So.
Okay. Is there anything about your family that we have not covered that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, with my family on my dad's side, 7 sons, Orthodox grandparents. They took traditions very seriously, and I think that's been instilled in me. And the idea that you strive to be successful, but you also have to give back and help others too. That we're here for a purpose in this world, not just to have fun. That's really not what it's all about. We're here to do some good, leave the world a better place than when we started. So.
Are those traditions and values that you would like to make sure you pass down to your daughter? And do you think she will pass them down?
It's hard to say. Ashley's her own person, kind of 50-50 with her, but she's still young,
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
What was your favorite Jewish tradition when you were growing up that you really loved and that you do want to continue with?
Well, I have good memories of Passover Seders in Milwaukee. I guess that's timely right now with Passover coming up.
Right.
My grandma and her sister lived together after her husbands died. Used to put on Seders like you wouldn't believe. They don't make them like that anymore. It's just, you know what I'm saying. They had about 30 people, all the traditions, and just on and on. It was really an experience, and I have great memories of it. So.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Chip, I want to thank you, but before we end, is there anything else at all that you'd like to add to this interview?
No, I'll just add I've been attracted to the Dallas Jewish Historical Society. The history aspect of it is very, very interesting to me. And, I'm happy to help out the organization any way I can. So.
Well, thank you. And we're happy to have you. And I appreciate your time, and have a wonderful Passover. Enjoy whatever you do this year.
You too, Joe. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
You
Bye-bye.
bet. Bye-bye.